Since you'll be working together to practice the GPAS process, I wanted to show you a sample. This sample is also placed in each of your team folders. And maybe just a little bit about the history. The spreadsheet was developed by a student of mine some years ago while they were doing the GPAS process. He just put this together while they were in class. He was very adept at spreadsheets, and so sometimes teams use this even in the live classes. They find it very helpful. This will be extremely helpful to you in the online class, given that you won't be in the same room together typically. So the GPAS process stands for Generate, Prioritize, Analyze, and Select. It's simply a series of meetings facilitation tools that help a group of people process a bunch of ideas together. And so up here at the top, you'll see the team roles: leader, facilitator, minute taker, timekeeper, recorder, and team member. I'd like you to assign your roles and rotate them each week. Doing so will give you a little bit of practice. So if you're the facilitator, for example, you'll be watching for process and making sure that the team doesn't sidetrack and that you stay focused on doing the process. And you might have to help the team understand how to use a step of the process. So if your role is facilitator next week, it will be important that you study up on the tools that you're going to be using for that week. And the videos that I made describing each tool should help you a great deal with that. Here the team wrote their names down and then their initials, and the initials will auto-populate throughout the rest of the spreadsheet. And they have their roles here, and you can see that there are little drop downs here you can use to select the team role. Down here at the bottom are some tabs. So we're going to go on to the next tab, which is the problem statement, and here they define their problem statement. Generally, it's best to put your problem statement into a paragraph form. You break it down by starting on current condition, or current state as sometimes it's called, desired condition, gap, and pain. And those are all described in your text. Just quickly, what these mean are current condition is where we are now. So for example, let's say we have 40% turnover in our offices. That's where we are now. The desired condition may be, realistically, we want to drop that to 30% by the next year, which gives us a 10% gap. If we can measure it, we can track it, and therefore understand if we're progressing. And the pain is the pain we're going through by being in our current condition, not the pain we'll go through by changing it. But if we have 40% turnover in our offices, then obviously we're going through a great deal of pain in training and disproportionate workload and those kinds of things. So we put those things in here and then ultimately make a paragraph. So once we've identified the problem, then we need to take it to two more phases. And this is what you'll do. There's actually more beyond that in execution and so on. But for the sake of your practice, you're going to identify what's causing the problem, and you'll identify multiple causes. And then you'll identify what the solutions would be. So if we go to the next tab, here's where we brainstorm. So they have their problem statement here, and we're working on root causes right now, not solutions, just causes. So the team members typed in the causes here, and they just kept typing these things down or in, entering this stuff into each cell. You can do this jointly since it's a Google Sheet. You can do it simultaneously. Just keep adding ideas. And you'll add the idea first and then come back after all of the ideas are in there and the author clarifies in 5 or 6 words, 4 to 5 words, something like that, what they meant by that idea. So you can do this while you're on your conference call. And so each team member gave they gave each team member, a number. You could use an initial too if you all have unique initials. It doesn't matter. These aren't mathematical. So if you're team member 1, then you voted here and here and here, and these are just record the votes. You're going to vote twice, and some of this will make much better sense to you as you go through the materials. So you will have voted twice. There are criteria that you establish before you vote that are listed up here. And then they have a column here that says move to rank ordering, which is the next step. So essentially we take a large list of brainstormed items, we set some criteria by which we are going to vote, we do a couple of votes, the ideas that survive then have this yes, and they go to the next step in the process, which is rank ordering. So they transferred all of those yeses here. So these are the ideas that survived. Along here are the team members' initials. And you rank them from, in this case, there were 10 ideas, so they ranked them 1 to 10. Sorry for the pause there. I noticed that when they scored this, they used a scale of 1 to 10, and this isn't a mathematical scale so much as a ranking. So I added some explanatory language here. So if you have 10 items, and you'll rank them 1 through 10, and it's important to decide what 1 means. Is 1 best or is 1 worst? If you don't do that, the numbers won't mean anything. In this case, they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So they would have ranked 1 through 9 instead of 1 through 10. It actually looks like, as I'm looking through this, I probably caught that when I was in class, and they just ranked 1 through 9, so they weren't using a mathematical scale, which is good. So you rank them against each other. So to recap, we've gone from brainstorming to multi-voting based on some criteria. We use the same criteria to decide how they rank against each other. And out of that, using the score, we take our top 5. And they've added an asterisk here for those that survived. And those go to the matrix. And so based on the instructions I give you in the video, create your matrix. And from that, choose one idea. Now in practice, we'll use multiple ideas. All of these will probably have some contributing element to the cause. But for the sake of your practice and for your paper, just choose one, because we don't have time to do a lot more than that. So you'll choose which of these is the best one, and then you start the whole process over and go on to solutions. You'll brainstorm solutions, you'll multi-vote, rank order, and so on. And that will finish up your GPAS process. So ultimately, that's where I want you to be as a team, that you can go through the whole process front to back in about 2.5 hours. You won't get that far in your first run. Take it as far as you can, and then the next week use a different problem. Best to keep these simple, because if they're too complicated, you're going to spend a lot of time explaining what it is, what it means. So I would recommend each of you on the team come with a problem, something simple at the office, like morale is low or complaints are up at the front desk or something like that, that you can use your imaginations and fill in the information. The professional in you is going to want to really try to solve this, but we don't have that luxury as we're practicing. All I'm looking for is that you understand the process, so we're practicing process. When you get into course 3, we'll do it in a very real problem, and we don't make anything up. But for the time being, all I'm looking for is to have you learn the process and the flow and understand the logic behind it. So I hope that helps. As always, feel free to contact me if you have questions.